So this feels really weird. I might put this up on YouTube. I may not. I don't know. Right now, it's just really just for me to get my thoughts out. Um, First of all, my name is Nicole, and I am definitely over 30. What about me? Um, who am I actually? This is just, excuse me if this is all over the place. Again, this is just a random thing I decided to do. And to just, I don't know, just make a video. And maybe I'll put it out. Maybe I won't. Maybe it'll help one person. I don't know, but it's probably gonna get 0 views. So, like I said, this is more for just for me. And if anybody comes across it, if it helps anyone, then that's just know that you're not alone when it comes to depression or self-doubt or just having different I don't know, just your self-perception is off. Your confidence, your overall mental health and well-being. It's just everything is just imbalanced. So a bit about me. Like I said, I'm a single woman that's over 30. And a lot has happened in the past 2 years since the pandemic. Oh, Lord. I had lost my job during the pandemic. And in the process, I was in the process of selling my home when I learned that I lost my job. And this happened again, like at the beginning, at the height of the pandemic, and all the layoffs were happening. And it's just been, since then, it's just been like a roller coaster. I've been laid off. For the past 2 years, I've been laid off and fired from 2 previous jobs. I've had to move in with my parents. And now I'm currently been living with a friend for almost a year. And then in the midst of all that, I have been trying to launch a small business, which I officially launched just yesterday. So really just been trying to keep my head above water for the past 2 years. And I will say that even though a lot has happened, I won't say I've it's like internally, yes, I've been having to battle inner demons, and just again just having negative thoughts, dealing with those negative thoughts, and just reflecting on life and my choices and what's led me up to this point. it's been rough emotionally and mentally and spiritually, but I will say that I'm still here. Um, and God hasn't put more on me than what I could handle. Um, Throughout the process, I've discovered how resilient I've become, or how resilient I am, no matter what. You know, I've cried. I've um, gained weight. Lost weight. Been stressed and up and down, up and down. Like I said, it's just been a roller coaster these past 2 years. It's just been a lot of instability um, in my life. I haven't owned my own space or had my own space for 2 years. I've been sleeping on an air mattress for the past year, for almost a year now. I miss having my own space. I have not had that. um, but, I have, like I said, I'm still here, pushing through. It has not been easy going through the challenges while trying to stay positive about launching a small business. Um, you know, like I said, it's been challenging. Even like I got fired from my job 3 months ago, and I had to go through the whole process again of like going through interviews and getting rejected and just all the stuff I had to go through during the pandemic when I went on a ton of more interviews and I went through tons of more rejections even during then just to get this job. And then what, 10 months later, get fired. But that's a whole nother story. I still got my unemployment though. And that's that's the thing. No matter what, God has always just always found, there's always been a way for me to keep my head above water. Like, even when I sold my house and I had some profit for it, I had to live off of that. And when I moved in with my parents, I had to pay rent. Basically, you know how that goes. For those of you, anyone that comes across this video and watches it, if you've had that type of parent that you, even though you ain't bringing in income and you kind of down and out, you still gonna pay something. So I had to still contribute to the household. So even like I said, when I was moving in with my parents, that put a lot of strain on me financially, because I really tried to hold on to that money. Again, this is gonna be all over the place, but again, I managed to, even with no job, no income, I managed to pay my mama, or pay her rent, still manage my car payment, and I still had debt, still making payments on that. So, somehow, some way, financially, I was being looked after, taken care of. Even when I was waiting on my unemployment to come through during the pandemic. I live here in Georgia. I forgot to include that about me, but I live here in Georgia. I'm currently residing in Douglasville, and I'm so ready to move back to the city. I'm so ready. I've lived in Atlanta for 12 years now. I moved to Atlanta back in 2010. So, well, technically I've lived in Atlanta for 10 years, and then when the pandemic had happened, I had to live a year in Noonan, and now I'm living almost a year here in Douglasville. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, just financially, I've been okay. Even with the company that I worked for, they're not even a company, it was a school, a university that I worked for. Even when they wrongfully dismissed me, I still filed for unemployment. And guess what? I got it. So my point is that although I might not be okay spiritually and emotionally and, mentally, I'm not 100%. God always seems to manage to take care of me when it comes to my needs. You know, um, no matter what, no matter what. For the past 2 years, I have not been living in my car. Even though I've had some difficult parents, I had to move out because, it was getting rough for me. It was getting rough for me. I felt like my mom, she really wasn't understanding of what I was going through. And, like I needed to hold on to what I had, my savings, because, during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty. And I needed that financial cushion. But my mom, being how she grew up, or her generation, they want you to pay bills, they want you to pay rent. It was just like, no. Like I said, I'm trying to explain to her, Mom, I ain't got no income. I don't have. I'm waiting on my unemployment. My unemployment didn't even come for an entire year. I got laid off in July of 2020. Okay. My unemployment didn't kick in until January of 2021. So that whole time, I'm paying my mama $800 a month, giving her $800 a month, contributing to the household. And my dad, this is a two-parent household, so it wasn't just my mom and my dad, but my dad, he was not involved in what my mama was the one that was asking for the money. My dad, he wasn't tripping. But yeah, paying my car note was over $600. I'll put it like that. Actually, way more. It was, I don't want to say way more, but I'll just say it's over $600 a month for car note. So $800 a month to my mama, trying to pay over a $600 car note, then insurance, and then still trying to pay. I still had some debt. I had $13K in debt. So just trying to, maintain the payments on the debt. Then I had my cell phone, and then I was paying like some storage, which, I mean, at the bottom, I didn't really have any bills, but it was still just like, I was out of the job for a year. So again, the money that I had made from the sale of my house, it dwindles fast when you don't have income. And then you trying to also, just maintain, buy yourself toiletries and whatever else. It wasn't like I was going out or shopping or anything. I was pretty much, I think a lot of people were in the house for a whole year. So that was that was tough, just depressing, just having to move back in with your parents and living like it's like you're in high school again, child, because they're going to treat you like your child. So just not having a life. And then, living in Atlanta didn't really shut down during the pandemic. So I'm watching my friends on social media, them go out and, they still got their jobs and, living their best life, at least from what I can see on the surface level. So, that was depressing. And, I'm all the way in Noonan, an hour away. And just, so I'm just pretty much eating and being depressed and, sleeping. And then I'm trying to, again, get myself out of this depression and, try to go on job interviews and, it was just, yeah. And it was just like, when you have a lot of time on your hands, especially when, you're already in a dark place, being alone with your thoughts can be dangerous. And I've had to sit with my just thoughts, and just reflect again on just how did I end up here, my decisions that I made that led up to this point. And, I've worked in the IT field for a bit over 10 years. And every job that I had, I didn't like it. So, I had this thing where I was like, I don't want to go back to working a 9 to 5. So, screw it. I never want to work to make someone else rich again. But in that time, I had a lot of creativity built up in me, and that was one thing that kept me from losing my mind, was being creative. And in that time during 2020, that's what I did to keep my mind off of my current situation, my current circumstances. Yeah, so anyway, me being creative was something that I enjoyed doing, specifically this particular project that I was working on, which is now I've launched as a business, which I'm surprised because it it took this long to launch it, because I wasn't confident enough that it would take off or people would, not like it. Because after I had created my product, I put it away because I didn't think it was good enough. So that was, and then around that time when I had put it away, that was the time that I had finally got a position, a job. I gotten a job in July of 2021. So I was back on my feet, but not really back on my feet, just because salary-wise, it wouldn't be enough to move out on my own. And plus, I was trying to save up more money just so I could, when I'm able to finally move out, I'd have, furniture, because at the time that I had sold my house, I'd sold my furniture, I sold everything. Um, I got rid of a lot of stuff. So even if I were to move out, I really didn't have any, furniture or anything like that. Just clothes and bathroom toiletries, and I still have my kitchenware, which I still have. Everything is still packed up in boxes. It's been like that for 2 years. Um, so anyway, when I somewhat got back on my feet, I'm still staying with my folks, and just hoping to save money this time. Um, but still, of course, paying my mother again, but it just wasn't enough because I wanted to move back to the city. And when you living in Atlanta, especially with rent now, you gonna have to make a decent living to if you want to live in the city of Atlanta. Um, so I still wasn't. Even when I took the job just because I was really just wanting to move out of my parents' house, and I was so desperate to get out of my situation. And I winded up moving out of my parents' house just because of, even though, let's see, COVID has somewhat calmed down. My father especially, he's elderly. He's 76, and even when I got out of the house from time to time, whether it be to go to brunch with a friend, or even like just go to the gym, like when I was trying to actually pull myself together and go to the gym, whatever, it was a big deal, it was a big issue, and it was just like child, you know because I thought everything was going to be good when they came out with the vaccinations, and I wasn't trying to get vaccinated, but for the sake of my parents, I said I'm going to go get vaccinated because my dad already didn't take care of himself. So I said I don't want to be the cause of if anything happened, I just, I have to be mindful and respectful of their house. And, the least I could do is just go get vaccinated because I was totally against it. Went and got vaccinated, but they were still making a fuss about, and mind you, I did not go out. I lived an hour away from Atlanta, so I wasn't trying to do all that driving. But when I did get a chance to go out, it was during the daytime. And I tried to make sure that, it was out in the open. Usually it was just like a restaurant, it was brunch or something. It wasn't nothing crazy, but I had just finally had enough, because again, my parents were just, they were just, and I couldn't do anything but respect that. They was, my dad is the type that will watch the news 24/7, MSNBC. It's always something negative. So I had to get away from it. I just couldn't. So I winded up moving out because I just couldn't take, just the constant, nagging and just being overbearing, and even my mom was saying I had to come home at a decent time. Child, I was just like, but it's their house, and again, even though I'm over 30, they was like, you coming home at a decent time. So I wound up moving out in October of last year, out of my parents' house, and moved in with my friend here in Douglasville. And he's been very generous and helping me get back on my feet. And the plan was to move out around this time of year. Actually, yeah, this was the time that was discussed, me moving out in the summer. But I'm here because I lost my job in May. So it's like I feel like I've gotten knocked down again. And I don't even want to talk about that because that was just, I still believe racism. I have never been fired for performance. I've never been fired over performance. And that's another reason why they decided to give me my unemployment, because again, they didn't let me go over a performance. Because I said, I'm still going to file for my unemployment and see what happens. I told them what happened, and I said, I have nothing to hide. This is the Department of, Department of Unemployment Insurance. And this is for out of state, because I had worked remotely for this organization. But they were in Wisconsin. So, and I was told there was a lot of racial disparities in Wisconsin. I definitely believe that. Anyway, so I wound up filing with, even though I'm a resident of Georgia, I worked for the state of Wisconsin. So, therefore, I filed with the state of Wisconsin unemployment. I'll just tell y'all, I worked for the University of Wisconsin, UW-Madison. That's who I worked for. I don't work for them anymore. I work for the UW-Madison. And from what I understand, that campus is it is definitely, from what I understand, Wisconsin is known for just racial disparities, and especially the University of Wisconsin. But anyway, I filed with the state of Wisconsin. Although I was told I could file with both Georgia and Wisconsin, but I said I wasn't fooling with state of Georgia, because during the pandemic, child, they so ghetto down here. So I was like, I'm not fooling with it. I just filed with the state of Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's unemployment is more than Georgia's unemployment. So, and I winded up getting it. So God is good, because I said I'm just gonna go for it. Because again, even though I was fired, I knew I was wrongly dismissed. And I think the only way I winded up, really the reason I think I winded up getting unemployment, was because when I gave the state the reason that they fired me, because I laid it out for them. I told them exactly what happened. Their job is to investigate, or I guess reach out to the employer when you file for unemployment. If you weren't, laid off, or whatever list of reasons that they got, they're gonna investigate. So I had to go basically answer a lot of their questions. And so afterwards, they reached out to the University of Wisconsin, and I guess to get their side, or, basically to, I guess, what's the word I want to use? Corroborate, whatever. Anyway, they reached out to him, and they never responded. They never responded to the, unemployment insurance department. They never responded. So they came back and said, well, we'll give it to you. And they gave it to me. So that tells you right there. So anyway, so I've been getting unemployment. But it's like, again, my needs are taken care of. My needs have always been taken care of. I don't have any doubts. No matter the things that I go through, God has proven to me over and over again that you'll be okay. And even though I have days where I'm just not okay, on the inside and, up here and, just here, it's everything else I don't have to worry about, like all the, like my basic needs, He still manages to keep a roof over my head. He still manages to put things together, or in a divine order where I'll be taken care of. It's crazy because when the pandemic happened, I didn't know I was gonna be laid off at the beginning. And I remember people telling me not to sell my house, but I wanted to sell my house so bad. This is before I knew I got laid off, or this is before I even, got laid off. I didn't know I was going to get laid off, but people were telling me to keep my house and, you should, do more to fix it and all this other stuff. And some just told me, I was just like, no, I don't want to keep this house. This house is more, because I had a nice house, but it was a liability. It was not an investment for me. I'm going to say for me. I've been there, done that. I stayed in that house for 12 years. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying. How many years did I bought that house in 2012, 2 years after I moved to Atlanta. So like 8 years I was in that house. And it was one of those, I bought one of those, it was an older home. It was built in, 1972. I like well-built, like quirky homes. I don't like the newly built homes. I don't know. I just wanted a house that was not like your traditional home. And I had it renovated, but there were internal problems with the house that the contractors weren't aware of, like checking the pipes and things like that. Honey, it was a whole bunch of stuff that just began to happen. Cosmetically, we fixed the house, but it still had some issues within its structure. So, I'd wanted to get rid of the home. And at the time, my ex was just like, he even sent over a real estate agent, talked to me about how much my house could be really worth if I stayed in it for X amount of time. All I needed to do was just get this done and this done. And, and what's crazy is this real estate agent, I don't even know if he was a real estate agent. I don't know, child, but he visited me twice. I don't know, to convince me to, to be here, to basically represent me when I'm ready to sell the home. I don't know, but it was just, it was annoying. But yeah, I just had like, There's three people that was trying to convince me to stay in the house. But I was like, no. I was like, I can't. I'm ready to put it on the market. And I actually winded up because I wanted to get rid of it. I wanted to get rid of my home. So I winded up selling the house to an investment property investment company. I did. It wasn't even about the money anymore. I knew deep down I had, because the house became a burden to me. And I was so glad I made that decision. But at the time that I put the house on the market, I put the house on the market June of 2020. I had gotten laid off that July. But we found a seller maybe like 2 weeks, I want to say 2 weeks after I got laid off. We found a seller. So anyway, I just say all I was trying to, what I was trying to say was, had I not just stuck to what I knew, because again, people will always try to give you what they think is best for you, of course, but only you can live your life for yourself. Other people can't live your life for you. And if it's something that's telling you deep down that, this is if this decision feels right to you, and your spirit is telling you, like, do it, then do it. If you know in your gut, like, if you ain't even got to think twice about it, even though you're hearing other people talk and they may be putting doubts in your head, but if what you feel is more strongly than what they're telling you, then go with your gut. Go with it. And I'm so glad I did. I listened to the voice in me that says, that told me it's time for you to let this house go. Does not matter about the money. You need to let this house go. It was really a financial burden on me, being a single woman and trying to take care of it. And this wasn't no small house. This house had 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it had nearly an acre of land, and it was in Atlanta. So taxes were, yes. I'm so glad I got rid of that house. I do not have any regrets. When you don't have any regrets, you made the right decision. Because if I hadn't let that house go and I gotten laid off, I would have been stuck with this house on my hands and no no income. Just, so I'm glad I didn't listen to those 3 individuals. I'm so glad I didn't listen. And then on top of that, I was bugging because my parents were trying to move down here at the height of the pandemic. I was like, y'all need to just pause. Y'all need to stop. I was telling this to them around March and April. Like, you guys are nuts to be trying to do all this movement, and meanwhile, the country is shutting down. What are y'all doing? But they went ahead and went through it. And even though because it was a lot of issues that came up because they were trying to move. A lot of things were shut down, so their move was not easy. But had they not came down here, I would not have been able to move in with them. So it's just like the order of things. I'm just like, I'm very grateful that my parents still decided to move, even though things were just turning out bad at the height of the pandemic, they still brought their butts down here. And I had a place to stay when I sold my house and I lost my job, because I thought that once I sold my house, I was just going to move into an apartment or something, temporarily. I wasn't even trying to move in with my parents. But that's exactly what happened. Well, I ended up moving in with my parents, but I was so grateful. I was so grateful. Because I think at one point they did talk about moving, holding off, but they were in a hurry to get down here. So anyway, there always seems to be a way. Oh, this lighting is bad. I'm sorry, y'all. And I'm sitting here in a closet and the sun is going down. But I just randomly wanted to, I don't know, I just randomly wanted to turn on the camera and just talk, even though it's probably going to be awkward, and I don't even know if I'm going to put this up on YouTube. But anyway, this is just an introduction of me. And I don't know. I don't know what comes after that. Maybe this will be the only video that I put out. But yeah, it's been rough. Trying to stay positive. Just trying to mentally stay afloat. Just trying to get through each day. Like I said, it's been there has been no stability for the past 2 years for me. It has definitely been a roller coaster, and I'm just ready to get back on my feet. I'm ready to get my life back. I'm back to going on these job interviews and dealing with recruiters, and I don't want to do it anymore. Ugh. Anyway, whoever is going through the same thing, just know that you're not alone. If you're going through the same thing and you happen to come across this video, you're not alone. We in it together. Yeah. Oh boy. I thought I'd be excited when I got my small business launched, but I don't know. I mean, it's accomplished. It's done. I launched it as of yesterday, even though it was supposed to be Friday. But I launched my small business as of yesterday. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. Again, my name is Nicole. And welcome to Cole's World.